guys! Do you wonder why you haven't heard from me for a few days? Our teacher lent his microphone to me and Ken Kukam, and he asked for the microphone back. Well, thank you, teacher. So I don't have a microphone anymore to record the videos, and I'm waiting for my new one to arrive. And that's why I haven't been able to film that many videos. And I've just been really busy making music, art, doing homework, and this is my last month in Hong Kong as well, so I'm visiting friends and people who I will not see for a while. So today I want to talk about Hong Kong independent cinema because last week my dad and I went to one of my favorite Hong Kong cinemas to watch a Hong Kong independent film. It's called 白日青春, the sunny side of the streets. And the director came after the screening to share about his film. We were very lucky to be able to ask him questions. And the director is from Malaysia originally, but he moved to Hong Kong to study and then he stayed to make films. And for me, I think it is a really special film because growing up, I have always made it a habit to go to the cinema to watch Hong Kong independent films. From about 10 years ago, we had 10 years, we had a film called Dimbo, Meats on the Fire. We had recently, I don't know the English name, but it's called Sa Chut Ko Wong Fan in Cantonese. It's kind of a dark comedy about an old man who is a killer, but he's kind of retired and then he trains a young girl who comically wants to be a killer. We have another film called Chuk Soi Pulo, which is about homeless people in Hong Kong. And very recently I watched Yit Yan Fen Lei, so it's taken from the concept of marrying yourself. So I've watched quite a lot of Hong Kong films, and I think The Sunny Side of the Streets, 白日青春, is special because apart from another film called 淪落人, which was about a Filipino domestic worker and an old man in Hong Kong, I've very rarely watched films that represents ethnic minorities in Hong Kong. And even, unfortunately, in mass media, when ethnic minorities are present, they might be depicted in a negative way. And so, 白日青春, I do think presents Hong Kong people and refugees from Pakistan in an equal way, and it's about the interactions genuinely instead of the stereotype that we are very used to seeing. The director really put a lot of effort into understanding the lives of people from Pakistan who are seeking asylum in Hong Kong, and in a way it also reminds me of being in countries like Thailand, especially the border town Mae Sot where I've just been, right? So I've met a lot of new friends who don't have a passport, they don't have legal identity status, and they might be waiting for the United Nations to send them to a third country like the United States, Canada, Australia, and I do think that quite a lot of my subscribers have experienced that as well. And so this film, in a way, echoes with what I have just learned recently, that we shouldn't take our legal status, our passport, our identity documents for granted, because it doesn't come easy for everyone, and to be able to have the freedom of movement is a privilege in itself. And I really hope that us ethnic majority, we can treat everyone with the same respect and kindness, because I think that's how we as a society can move forward. And I think 白日青春, this new movie, is a very powerful presentation of a community that has often been dismissed or depicted negatively in mass media like TV and news reports. So I think that reminds me of the power of cinema as well, that we can shed light on special stories that are untold, and we can encourage the audiences like me to reflect on our own lives and how we can do better. And so I think it is a really wonderful movie. 覺得我自己做電影啦，都係同埋都有做電影節嘅，咁我覺得呢一套戲都好特別啊，因為即係香港近年睇咁多電影，即係都得一兩部係關於少數族裔啦。咁我都好好奇你頭先講到research， 你都 research 咗呢一個議題好多年，咁我都有興趣想知多啲關於個電影籌備嗰一方面啦。特別因為即係喺香港，我屬於即係多數族裔啦，應該咁樣講。咁其實由細到大睇嘅新聞，即係通常講難民或者南亞裔嘅群體啦，都係非常之片面嘅。特別就係多數都係負面啦，即係譬如就會話，又係嗰班難民喺度搞搞震啦，即係啲黑幫啊，好似即係只有一啲好片面嘅 label 會擺咗落去。少數族裔嗰度，即係我自己識嘅朋友，如果係少數族裔都可能已經係即係有身份嘅，咁所以我都想知多啲係咯電影嘅籌備，點解你會有呢個靈感啊，同埋你嘅 research 係乜嘢啦 ？Thank you。
其實呢個問題其實我可能其實有時係做義工啦，有時係幫佢哋去拍片啦，有時係真係自己做紀錄片啦，有時係訪談。其實我自己透過可能唔同嘅方式，其實慢慢去理解唔同家庭面對嘅困難。如果你有小朋友，你面對嘅困難可能係有小朋友讀書，咁啊就讀書，可能佢又冇錢或者學校唔收佢。咁如果你冇小朋友嘅，你可能你個問題就我唔知我有個即係可能我同一個唔同國籍嘅人拍拖，咁我哋未來可唔可以喺邊度 settle down 咧？即係如果我成功咗，我去咗加拿大，咁佢又唔成功，佢留喺香港，即係。有好多呢啲好細微嘅，我覺得係感情上同甚至係可能心理上嘅負擔係對於呢班嘅難民好大嘅。咁所以越嚟越創作呢個故仔嘅時候，其實我會覺得我可能唔係特別想 focus 喺一啲好實際嘅制度嘅問題，反而係佢哋喺生活喺香港面對呢種uncertain 嘅情況之下，佢哋嗰種人與人之間嘅關係有時會有少少扭曲，或者係有少少好難去建立信任嗰種感覺咯，咁所以最後就擺咗入兩個家庭下邊啦。咁我覺得其實 casting 都係一個好好玩嘅過程，因為我哋知道呢套戲會用咗好多唔同族裔嘅演員啦，咁所以我哋早喺開鏡之前半年已經開始做 casting，我哋去咗好多學校，喺好多嘅少數族裔嘅 centre，同埋一啲 NGO， 甚至我哋會去一啲回教堂啊咁樣去做 casting 嘅，因為我哋好希望有樣嘢可以做到，就係令到即係香港電影可以見到我哋有好多好 talent 嘅演員，但係平時冇咁嘅角色去到佢哋。咁所以都好好彩，其實林樂佢喺今年都到香港電影導演會都攞咗最佳新演員，嚟緊金像獎其實佢都有入圍嘅。咁所以大家可以到時4月16號留意電視會有呢個頒獎典禮，唔知佢會唔會真係攞獎啦？因為如果佢真係攞獎，就係香港電影史上金像獎史上第一個可能攞獎嘅即係演員獎，即係非華裔演員，可能係咁嘅歷史，我唔知。不過大家可以期待下。
And I think as a film itself, it was very brilliantly made as well, because the music choice reflects South Asian connections. So I personally don't know a lot about South Asian music, but I can recognize it when I hear it, and I really appreciate that in the background music. The film crew really made a thoughtful choice to include South Asian Pakistani music. And another thing that I thought The Sunny Side of the Street did well was the casting, because casting Anthony and Sahar is such a brilliant, not just a visual contrast, but you can really feel the bond between the two actors. And I think Sahar has a lot of potential, and I hope to see a new generation of actors who are ethnic minorities in Hong Kong. I think that would be a positive change for the film industry. And I personally work in film festivals in the UK, so I watch films and then I shortlist them for film festivals, and I think it's always really refreshing to see faces that we don't really see often being represented in cinema. Of course, in Hollywood, then Asian people are very uncommon still, but Michelle Yeoh just won the Oscar, so hopefully that is a milestone and that signifies that change has been happening. And of course in the UK as well, there are more movements of Asian people coming together. And going back to the film, in terms of the open ending, it just stops at the right point because the film manages to avoid being too melodramatic. At the same time, we feel enough closure. I think the director manages to stay very focused and stay true to the characterization of the characters. For example, the child and Anthony, their life choices may not make logical sense to the rest of us, right? But it aligns with Anthony's character being very stubborn, being, you know, kind of an outcast from society. And similarly, Sahal as well, being a refugee, he has learned to be very resourceful and just not very trusting because many people have shown in his life to be untrustworthy. And so I think the ending is just the right point to end the film. If you're in Hong Kong especially, I strongly recommend checking out this new movie called白日青春, The Sunny Side of the Streets. And I'm curious to read more and hear more about what people think as well, because this film has just been in the cinema for a few days for public screenings. So yeah,